Hello and welcome to the Monster Sanctuary Tournament Circuit. Today we're going to be casting the third place finals of the fourth tournament of Season 1, Draft. I'm Quarter.
And I'm Pope Pius, otherwise known as Infamous Sniper if I am in these tournament matches. This match will be against Red, who will be on the right side, and Jagomu, who will be on the left side.
Yeah, and this will be the first time that we'll be seeing the Thornish out of Jagomu's team, which, as we can see here once again, is very charge and shield focused, which is entirely what you want on Goblin Pilot. We have seen a shift from the semifinals match with Joker, where we saw the Goblin Pilot as light shifted. Instead, we do have a more debuff-oriented lineup. Makes sense with the Thornish here, which will be fun versus all of this chill.
Yeah, Red's team here featuring a lot of chill, just kind of wanting to let that congeal damage from the chill and really stack up on the opposing team while they're using lower levels of actions. From the previous match I saw of Red's team, the Minotaur is something new. It doesn't really bring a ton of chill, but it does bring a lot of just direct damage.
It's got that counterattack too. That could be really nice. Already in our opening setup here, we can see a reasonable number of buffs landing. Already the chill is heavy stacked up, as the bleed will be coming out as well, thanks to the passive from Arachlich. But Thornish is coming out here with the Mega Protect, getting a couple cheeky restores off from that as well.
Yeah, Jagomu's team is very quickly recovering from that attack, though the chill will start bringing down their mana. We'll see if Red can keep them at bay by making sure they can't use powerful actions. So the fact that they just fully filled up those shields in one turn is pretty terrifying, especially since Red's team only has one attacker in Drakazul, and Thornish and Miner are going to easily redirect attacks away from Goblin Pilots.
It's a very resilient lineup, though, with the multi-barrier potentially coming out from Drakazul alongside the King Blob doing all of these regenerative plays, and the Phoenix Affinity from Arachlich. That could still be a tough nut to break, but I mean, we do still have a pilot just staring this in the face.
Yeah, King Blob's lack of elemental weaknesses does make it kind of hard to break through, though a weakness of Red's team here is that Arachlich and King Blob are the only healers/supports. Drakazul can kind of feel like a combo builder role.
Arachlich can kind of do that. It's not unreasonable. Oh, we do see an occult power come out though for some heavy buffs on Arachlich though, as the chilling wind will be popping back there, just dropping even more debuffs as the attrition still is heavily setting in here. It's the deceptive thing here is it's never like the turns where you see the debuffs get applied or the turn after where it really starts to get off. It's what was deceptive about the last time I saw Jagomu play into heavy debuff.
And I think an important thing that'll come up here is how much damage Red can do to the health of Jagomu's monsters. There's no healer amongst Jagomu's monsters. Thornish just has some passive regeneration skills, and then I think then it's just going to be the regeneration buff. So as we can see, despite having a full turn, Goblin Miner is still missing quite a bit of health.
Mm-hmm. That said, the damage isn't quite there on Jagomu's side, whiffing on the Volatile Shield Alpha Strike there into the Arachlich. Those barriers really putting in that work.
Yeah, and the shield from the Occult Power is very important there too.
Ooh, that's a really good...
Yeah, Red's team can pretty passively charge up in the shields, which is quite important for making sure that your monsters don't just end up dying from low tick damage. Being at full health and shields is very important for not dying.
We can already see how swiftly things are falling into Red's favor here. Just a few turns ago, Jagomu's team was looking a bit healthier, but the problem is all of these incremental bits of damage are just adding up. And sadly, as you said, the healing isn't quite there. We are getting some passive heals from some of the elements here. We do see some items come out as well, but
yeah, the Mega Potions do restore their health, but none of these monsters have Potion Mastery or many skills that really work with them using potions. So even though they are back up to full health, those bleed stacks are still building up, and they were making no progress towards winning this battle that last turn. They were just desperately trying to undo the damage Red did.
If this is just farming charge stacks and waiting for infinity, that's already feeling very grim, as we do see the Ice Claws come out from the Drakazul there, which will be taking down the Goblin Pilot, and the Goblin Miner got achingly low right there.
Yeah, unless the Goblin Pilot spends a whole nother turn healing itself, I don't see it's really recovering enough to survive into the next turn.
Yeah, it looks like instead Jagomu's taking this time just to make sure that the next wave is set up. The Thornish is still healthy. The Crystal Snail can get put up into a position where it's not going to immediately die, and the damage reflect off of Crystal Snail could be a serious changer here. We saw that become very significant in the semifinals once again, so we could see something similar here.
Well, that would be interesting to see. I haven't seen Crystal Snail's reflect damage do a ton, but here Red is also relying more on the congeal damage, so Red can just kind of wait on that.
That's true. We don't have like terrifying Goblin Pilot mirror match, which provides a lot of the same sort of benefits there. We do have some crits in the back, but the problem is, as you say, so much of Red's team is dots. As the Chilling Wind will be coming out again, it's really just hunting for purple bar here.
And the fact that Raklich is able to stay on the field this long so safely means that those bleed stacks are really adding up. It's good for Jagomu that Aklat isn't out having to bleed out, because otherwise then his team would just be totally done for, and being able to have those bleed stacks just stick around and really build up.
One really important thing to think about with that is that those bleed stacks are coming off of all of those dots. So like if that's a really juicy congeal hit, that is why we're seeing some of these like really heavy bites out of those bleeds.
Yeah, Goblin Miner being weak to water doesn't help in this situation. So I think both Thornish and Crystal Snail have the Curse Breaker here, or is Thornish still with just Curse Resistance?
I don't think it's got Curse Breaker.
Okay, so the Thornish is at least resistant to the damage from the debuffs, and Crystal Snail is removing a debuff every turn. So, I mean, we can see that Jagumu's team is removing those debuffs about as fast as they're being applied right now, which does help in their case. Keeps those bleed stacks from really building up.
That helps with the age as well on Crystal Snail, which will be just allowing it to get a bit more mana regen on the board there, start to circumvent some of the heavy chill strats that we are seeing out of Red.
Yeah, at this point, Jagomu is just hoping to remove debuffs and keep their team alive until Crystal Snail has enough charge stacks and shields in order to take out a monster.
Yeah, it looks like Red isn't really changing the formula here. It's pretty reasonable for Red to just occasionally take some time, removing the debuffs on their side, and then just steadily let the Vice close in. My only issue with that is actually a strategy that kind of favors Jagomu there. I know I was joking about waiting for Infinity Stacks earlier, but we are now starting to get to the point where those can start happening, and that still will, I think, favor Jagomu in this circumstance. We have a Graphonics and a Hood in the back, which are still pretty effective damage dealers.
Yeah, and especially since Crystal Snail is building up those charge stacks, that means that it'll eventually get enough damage to get a kill here. Now, surprising thing, I am surprised to see that this Goblin Miner is still staying alive, but I suppose the attacks are being redirected from it, and the chill is getting removed from it pretty quickly, and its shields were being filled up so it could take that damage, so it's still hanging on.
It is getting two separate sources of protect that can kind of interchange. We have an all chonk board from Jagomu right now.
Yeah, at this point, Red is just kind of turtling up and trying to apply as much chill as possible to slow down Jagomu's team. But I think we'll see eventually that Crystal Snail will have enough damage output to take out one of Red's monsters and put Jagomu in to put Red in a worse spot, or at least to even things back out.
Yep, we're already seeing the previews for Gemstone Rain start to look better and better. And those H stacks are only going to improve it alongside the Infin, which has started to drop. Forge coming out from the Goblin Miner as well. I do believe we're already on 3 Glory for everybody there. Yep, there's the 3 Glory. So it's not going to be doing an excessive amount, but it's just that much more shield for everybody. Okay, we are seeing another big potion getting dropped just to keep the Miner on board here.
Yeah, Jagomu, look at the damage previews, and even with all that combo, it's still not looking good. So just continuing to build up those charge stacks. Really important that Jagomu does not spend all those charge stacks on Crystal Snail without getting a kill.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Like, you want to make sure that you're making something out of that when you've spent this much time building them up.
Yeah, it'd be really devastating to not get a kill with them, because then you have to spend a whole another set of turns charging them up to try again.
Speaking of which, Red is doing a similar thing in terms of sitting back and letting things keep going here, with a combination of 3 regen on most of these monsters and 3 barrier. It's looking pretty safe on their side.
I haven't been paying attention to it. Do you know what light shift King Bob is going with?
That's looking like heal charging here.
Okay, that definitely makes sense since they've gotten so many charge stacks. Oh, and actually, Red doing something really good. And they're
Hold on,
did they hit the Thornish or the Goblin Miner there?
I think that was hitting the miner, but it got protected onto the Thornish.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say that's an interesting thing to do when your opponent does have a.
Missing so the crit. Close.
Yeah, just what you were saying. But what I was going to say, the something to do is that if you are worried about taunt redirecting your attack, attacking a monster as protected by a monster is a good idea to make sure that you hit your intended targets. In this
Definitely.
case, if Red wanted to attack the Thornish, if they attack the Thornish directly, Goblin Miner could taunt the attack. But if they really want to hit the Thornish, they just attack a monster that Thornish is protecting to guarantee they get the hit.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate corollary of protection inside this, because it does mean that you can kind of finagle around it by just hitting the target that you intend, as you say. Which, given the fact that the Thornish is doing a lot for keeping this team alive, it also does still have the opportunity for some of those delicious little razor attacks using its specific passive there, which has a very high corresponding bleed. A little hard to pay off here, but the Dracozol has certainly been outputting enough damage to make that worth it.
Yeah, and Thornish is definitely getting lower and lower in health. Very difficult monster to take out. It just has so much health and defense. It's able to regenerate so much health. You can build it for a full-on defense with its equipment and food and feel great about it. It's a very difficult monster to take out.
If I recall correctly, it self-applies barrier with its water move as well.
Yeah, though I don't think you'd really be attacking with it.
No, usually it's protect, isn't it?
Yeah, which is going to be giving itself shields. But it also has 2 nodes of disease control, and so for each debuff on the monster attacking it is going to deal like 5% less damage for each of those debuffs twice.
And as we can see here, it's doing a great job keeping all of its allies alive, and it's still hanging on by a thread there. That disease control still helping it out. Those dots just didn't quite make it.
So I'll find that, though Jagomu is finding that is very difficult to keep it up, having to spend basically the entire turn on keeping it up. And this is going pretty poorly for Jagomu now that Crystal Snail is not keeping his shields up.
That's 176 charge stacks that are probably just going to get thrown to the wayside. I mean, I know Thornish isn't exactly going to be the thing that's going to break this, but oh man, always breaks my heart when you see that large a number of them just get unused.
Yeah, I find that I don't even take the 2 nodes of revenge on Thornish anymore when I build it, just because I've sat there with a 300 charge stack Thornish and its damage numbers are still very disappointing.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's better just investing those into stats at that point.
Yeah, honestly, making sure the Thornish doesn't die is more important than maybe in the future it could get a single kill.
And as we can see there, the Thornish does finally go down. And we do see the Graphonics hit the board here. It looks like perhaps this is the point where with the 5 infin stacks on top of everything else, Jagomu is going to try to grab this game by the reins and try to bring things back in there. We do see a KO predicted on the Dracozol, which does go down here. This is the first fatality on Jagomu's side.
Yeah, big kill there. I was at first I thought things were going to go really bad since Goblin Miner didn't have any way to buff up Graphonics so that it could get a kill, but those charge stacks were enough so Goblin Miner could get a good kill there. It's pretty surprising how much damage Goblin Miner can output just by building up a couple of charge stacks.
Yeah, to contrast Thornish, Goblin Miner setup really does favor it there, especially since it also has the ability to inherently provide armor break on a lot of its opponents, which can really assist sort of not full damage, sort of position 2 combo builders perform that damage dealing role late in the game.
Yeah, it's definitely surprising. Like I used Goblin Miner even before the recent Goblin buffs, and definitely noticed that it was pretty consistent. That it could buff up the team, shield them pretty well, taunt. It was decently tanky, and it only took a couple turns to build up towards getting a kill.
I mean, I wish I could say that. Better. I wish I could say the same in this board here. That Minotaur just tore that Miner to pieces. That Stone Rain certainly outperforming what I had anticipated this Minotaur to do. Things are definitely heating up at the end here, thanks to these Infinity stacks, as it's just very quickly becoming a wipe, and a wipe. Important to note, though, that this late in the game, the Gift of Life on Jagomu's side is actually going to be really painful to see, because we're going to lose all of those sweet, sweet Infinity stacks.
Yeah, as we saw, Red went for the Griffinix with their Minotaur because they saw the importance of getting rid of Griffinix just so it wouldn't have revive at the end here. But Goblin Miner redirected the attack to itself with taunts, resulting in this more difficult state for Red now. However, Red brought out Wolf because I imagine that they are hoping that Wolf will die here, or King Blob, so Akala can come out, and then Red will have 2 monsters to revive.
Well, now that we've seen the infant stacks get dropped off of both of these monsters, a lot of that oomph on Jagomu's side of the board is going to be somewhat stymied here. As we can see here, nowhere near as much damage as we were seeing earlier. 7 stacks of 25% damage really does mean a lot this late in the game. Alongside the age stacks from all of these monsters, there we have the Necromancy out on the Arachlich as well. The Shield Burst comes down, just whomping that Griffonyx.
Yeah, an underappreciated tool in Arachlich's arsenal. It doesn't have really the HP stat to really make a ton of use out of it, but Shield Burst is an option on it. And we see that being able to take out the Griffinix has allowed Red to take the first match. Let's see if either player's sideboards, and we see a lot of sideboarding on Red's side, getting an Ice Blob, a Dark King Blob, and a regular Blob.
Well, yeah, this is full blob tribal, which is, I think, the first time I've ever seen that. That should be pretty fun to check out there. Once again, very debuff heavy here, and we can assume so with the Dark Shift on King Blob as well.
Yeah, so we have Curse Chain on a regular Blob, and I imagine it'll be Debuff Mastery on the King Blob.
That makes sense as a reinforcer for that. Oh yes, Aurora Shield coming out on the Ice Blob is actually a really nice defensive tool as well, just kind of bolstering the difference between here. Because you don't want the burns getting out of hand when Goblin Pilot's up, because that really does add to its charge.
Yeah, and we'll see here that going full Blob with regular Blob here, that there is a ton of debuffs getting applied.
Oh yeah, we're seeing 4 armor break, chill on everybody, 2 weakness on Snail. The Goblin Pilot, I think, has managed to get away with no stacks of weakness, though, which is a very unfortunate thing for Red here, because this is looking like it could drop some juicy wrecks with 16 combo isn't the highest I've ever seen, but that's still enough to potentially just wipe out either the King Blob or the Ice Blob here with that Fireball Storm.
Yeah, Red got a lot of armor break onto Jagomu's monsters, but not many other debuffs. Okay, so Jagomu was deciding to play it safe here, and after seeing that they were not able to stack up, or after seeing the 20% dodge and having to rely on crits, Goblin Pilots only really has that one node of critical consistency and like a node of crit chance plus, so it doesn't want to build for crit chance with its equipment, so its critical hits are very inconsistent.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Alongside the spell shield, that does make it a lot more risky to try to take that bet. Even when Fireball Storm is hitting multiple times, especially with damage per views like that, that is assuming the best case scenario here.
Red just opting to just turtle up here, build up health and shields and defensive buffs while applying debuffs on the opposing team. Without Blood Drive, though, there isn't as much debuff damage coming out. The corrosion on the regular blob should be boosting up the debuff damage, but it's not enough to really wear down the shields of Jagomu's team.
Ooh, unfortunately, the restores did not remove the weakness, so we will be seeing another turn of Jagomu playing it safe here.
Both teams really just kind of staring each other down, waiting for the other two. Well, I guess Red's just waiting for Jagomu to make their move. And yeah, Red's team is just not wearing down Jagomu's team as much as they would like, most likely. I imagine they're expecting Corrosion to really stack up the damage with King Blob's debuff mastery and Ice Blob's Corrosion or Congeal.
Yeah, we do see the Congeal is starting to make its presence known here. And once again, it's usual that you see this take like 2 or 3 turns to really start getting in effect here, as oftentimes mono rotations do still allow you to get like a fair few turns out before you really start hitting that low number, even when you have that chill going on. Still, though, the pilot, it's still waiting here because those previews, while they're looking good, they're not KOs, and you kind of need a strong assertion here in order to kick things off. And when Red isn't pressuring you, there's no reason to push the envelope there.
Yeah, and we're seeing some confirmation here with King Blob having debuff mastery due to there being multiple debuff stacks of weakness and poison.
Yep.
And we are seeing that debuff damage get through the Goblin Miner and even getting into Crystal Snail's health.
Yeah, no, it really is adding up there. We're up to 4 armor break on Crystal Snail. That's very significant. I think the armor break has been the most easily applied one so far.
The playing it safe is not working out for Jagomu here, since the debuff damage is really stacking up. Continuing to play it safe, just not wanting to waste all those charge stacks and the shields on Goblin Pilots.
Challenge is eventually you got to fire it off, otherwise you're just whiffing things for no reason. Seeing the miner go down so early does suck, but we do of course still have plenty of ways to apply shield and charge on Jagomu's side. I would say that charge is a lot harder for them to apply now in comparison to previously. Crystal Snail not necessarily renowned for that, and these congeals are really hammering in now. Sorry, you go ahead.
Oh yeah, I don't think the Crystal Snail is going to survive another turn without some kind of potion.
Speaking of the devil, there it is. We are seeing a big potion get dropped out there, and that is another time that Goblin Pilot has spent a turn going support rather than actually going in for some of these kills, as it's a full turn devoted for keeping Snail up and running. Yeah,
Jagomu is really spending a lot of resources, and every turn they're getting less and less shields, which is putting Goblin Pilots in a worse and worse situation.
Yeah, it's a painful thing to see because of the fact that it's ultimately every attempt that we've seen so far for Jagomu to regain the position that they had, say, turn 3, has been to diminishing returns in comparison to the amount of damage that we've seen out of the steady corrosion debuff plan that Red has had this game.
Yeah, Goblin Pilot's previews are getting worse and worse now. They unfortunately missed their opportunity. They definitely were being smart and not risking attacking into any of the monsters because they had that 20% dodge chance and they would need crits in order to get the kills, and due to Volatile Shield, they probably needed a crit on the Volatile Shield hit. So they're definitely playing it smart, but they unfortunately missed their chance.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see here. Red has been entirely untouched inside this, and I mean, I wish I could say that it's passive. Ultimately, this just feels very reactive in terms of the plays that we're seeing so far.
Yeah, but I mean, this is definitely a really good team comp, really showing off the power of the blobs. Really awesome to see.
Yeah, no, it's the sort of team composition that can be often maligned, I think. Once again, Blob just kind of gets overlooked in sort of standard environments, and seeing it perform here with its passive alongside its allies is just a breath of fresh air. That said, we do see the Ice Blob go down to the Fireball Storm, but is this too little too late?
I think that Jagomu is still in a really bad spot here because Reckless, even though it's not going to apply an extra instance of armor break because of the regular Blob's aura, it now brings blood drive, which is going to make the debuff damage even worse.
That is very true. The blood drive, alongside the additional longevity that we're seeing from Racklich as well, it's another source of healing here. It's just going to make it that much more painful as we do see the pilot go down. Blood drive starts to kick in there almost immediately. The hood is under half. The Thornish is looking a bit peaky.
That goblin hood is out of mana.
Oh, good grief. Yeah, you're right. It's under 50% there. It can't do a single thing.
Well, yeah, all of its actions are at a lower level. Its damage reviews are not looking good. Goblin Hood can deal massive damage, but it definitely wants to be buffed up by its allies to make use of its... I think it has a buff catalyst node on it. That gives it a really big source. That's a really big source of its damage.
Yeah, buff catalyst plus antipody, I believe, are like the two things that really help bring it into the stratosphere with damage. And unfortunately, we haven't seen the charge support that we normally see out of Jagomu's lineup this game be used to their full advantage.
Yeah, Goblin Pilot just couldn't get there on the damage previews, and Jagomu played it safe, and then just ended up not working out for them. I think it's definitely the good play to play it safe when it comes to those charge stacks, so that you can just let them build up until you can get your kill, but the debuff damage just suddenly really picked up there and took out the shields, so that even though they had more charge stacks, they were just running out of shields.
Yeah, no, the fact it's I think something that can be overlooked when you're playing Goblin Pilot, because a lot of times the thought is just, make sure that your charge gets up there, make sure that you're appropriately buffed and you remove the debuffs, but shield capacity is an important sort of element of Goblin Pilot's damage output. That volatile shield is an integral last hit that really does amplify the amount of damage that can be output.
At this point, we see that Goblin Hood is definitely not getting their damage, and I think at this point, Red can pretty safely just wear down Jagomu's team. The revive on that Griffin-X will complicate things a bit, but Red's team is quite safe here and easily bring itself back up to full health and restoring quite a lot of its shields.
Yeah, Red's just outpacing Jagomu on this board far too much. We see the Phoenix Affinity pop on Griffonics, and the Thornish continues to be quite alarmingly low here. It doesn't look like many of these monsters will survive another turn at this rate. And unfortunately, as you've been mentioning, the damage is not there for the Hood. We could see some reinforcement from the Griffonics. It is able to get a bit more damage out there with the 4 infin stacks versus the 1 on Hood, thanks to the death earlier. But it's just not enough.
Yeah, that damage preview, if Griffin-X crit every hit, would have taken the Arachlich out of its, or made it use its Phoenix Affinity, but Jagomu just wasn't able to get those crits, and Arachlich is still going. At this point, this match is over.
Man, it must be... Yeah, there we go. That is the forfeit. We are into our third game here, folks. Can Jagomu turn this around?
Jagomu opting for probably a slower, more shield burst-oriented strategy, now bringing in the Steam Golem. Red is now going back to their original team comp, but with Ice Blob instead of Minotaur. I imagine Red was expecting Jagomu to sideboard against a just full-on debuff applying strategy and opted for going a bit more damage-oriented by swapping out regular Blob.
It's a good fake out, and we can already see Jagomu's taking advantage of this and applying as many burns as possible here, getting up to 25 charge stacks almost immediately on Pilot. Unfortunately, we do see a weakness get applied there as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Steam Golem and Goblin Pilot together can, well, and also with the Crystal Snail, can all threaten to use their shields to take out Red's monsters.
So far, one of the things I'm liking about the Steam Golem pickup here is that the passive is actually protecting the Pilot a bit. Perhaps the intention here is to use the Construct passive to make sure that those shields stay up for longer, given that that was such an immediate issue last game.
Goblin Pilot's damage previews are not looking great, though it does have more of a capacity to just keep throwing out damage in order to take out Red's monsters. Though King Blob showing its power to heal monsters back up, while Ice Blob shielding up.
Oh yeah, no. The challenge is that once it's the unspoken king once again here. Actually, we don't. Yeah, there we are. There's the 3 barriers that are coming up. That Drakazul has provided so much sustain alongside King Blob. That combination is very brutal, as we're seeing here.
That chill really doing a number on that Crystal Snail, but at this point, Steam Golem does have a good amount of charge stacks and shield burst ready. Though Jagomu does not opt to use it this turn.
Seeing Jagomu once again play very safe with some of these burst attacks. It's hard getting those up again, so it does stand to reason that you want to like sort of protect yourself inside those. We see a big potion come out trying to keep that Goblin Pilot more alive here. That was dangerously low in the HP department.
Goblin Pilot's weakness to water is really becoming a liability for Jagomu. Last turn, that Congeal was doing a massive amount of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Red at this point is able to easily heal off the damage from Jagomu. Meanwhile, Jagomu has to spend turns just healing off the damage it took.
Yep, and we do have another hit coming up from the Drakazul now. We've seen Chilling Winds, we've seen Ice Claws, but we are instead going to see the Ice Breath come out here, and it alongside the dots will be taking down the Crystal Snail without very much qualms at all. Also, I did not actually see any damage reflect on that snail.
Oh, that's interesting that they opted not to take that point on there. Though taking out the Crystal Snail is pretty huge for Red, since they will no longer be providing Curse Breaker or Restoring Shields for the team.
Yeah, no, the absence of Restoring Shield is going to be pretty painful there. We've seen how hard those debuffs can hit, and how the consistent removal of them is one of the things that's been keeping Jagomu sort of in the black so far. But with First Blood going to Red, it's looking like things are still tipping back into their favor, despite what on the surface still looks like a more respectable board here. I'm just hoping that we can start to see some penetration here. We still have the shield burst. We still have the Goblin Pilot at full shields here. Weakness has been applied though.
Well, just armor break and to chill.
Oh, I was saying on the Steam Golem.
Ah, yeah, that keeps it from getting a kill with shield burst.
So instead, we do see the Aurora Shield come out there, some really important restores. As you say, just the chill on Goblin Pilot does mean that there is the potential to bring that out there. Unfortunately, the mana is incredibly low with Goblin Pilot, and that's another thing that's going to impair those damage previews. When you can only do level 1 of Fireball Storm, level 3 of Lightning Slash, it's just not the same amount of damage there. And as we can see, the evasions and the whiff on the Volatile Shield is agonizing. Oh,
yeah. I think Jagomu learned the lesson from last time that they just gotta go for it. The longer the game goes, the more the debuffs will outpace the debuff removal, and the lower their damage previews will get as the shields drain more and more. But the damage preview was just really bad there, and the misses were just awful.
Yeah, no, that is always a painful thing to see there. To contrast, the Drakazul is able to take down the Thornish right there, so we are getting into the back line of Jagomu here. Goblin Hood has hit the table. There are few sources of charge on that board that can spread it to Goblin Hood, but we will still have some reasonable sources of buffs in the form of, I believe that Goblin Hood gets Supremacy and Light Shift, right?
No, it's Light Shift is Equipment Mastery.
Right, my bad.
It at least has It at least has preparation, and that worked out well because now it has a glory buff, which will be pretty huge.
That's where it got those from. Thank you.
It also got a regen buff, which I'm not sure where that came from, though.
There's nothing else there that's supplying buffs.
Not that I know of. Goblin Hood's damage previews are pretty awful there, though it did build up some buffs with critical mass.
Ignite, at least, is helping get some charge buffs on it. I do find that it can perform a lot better when it gets some of those up. Still, though, the Ice Claws comes out, and unfortunately this Hood is not going to have another chance to do what it needs to, as the Congeal will continue to just, like a vice, just apply pressure steadily to Jagomu's remaining board.
Yeah, this Chill and Congeal is proving itself to be really effective against these teams that just want to slowly build up shield and charge stacks, since it makes their actions worse and worse and makes it harder and harder to build up those shield bars.
Yeah, it's a very effective counter to that strategy, which otherwise can be very devastating to more conventional buff-oriented teams, because obviously, they can far outpace them with the addition of charge and shields and the great power of Goblin Pilot. But as we're seeing here, and as you pointed out, cutting their supports out from under them, using the chill combo there is just gruesome to see, as the Phoenix Affinity is going to pop from Drakazul again. Some terrifying damage coming out here.
Yeah, Drakazul's damage has been pretty incredible this game. I think Ice Blob's Shatter Aura, increasing the damage to monsters of Chill, has been quite the all-star here, because Drakazul normally does not have with as much damage, but the fact that it could take down Thornish so easily, it really spelled the end for Jagomu.
That was one chilling wind, and it took it from like 80% down to 0.
Yeah, normally Thornish is incredibly difficult to break through, as we saw this entire game, but having so many chill stacks up on there, like I probably had 5 chill stacks on it with Drakazul, and really bumped up its damage, and just this entire time, Drakazul has built up a bunch of buffs for itself.
And going into just 2 monsters left on Jagomu's side, it's looking like the time has passed here, with absolutely no fatalities on red side. This game could not look more one-sided.
Yeah, this is definitely the end for Jagomu. There's no way that they can turn around and get a kill with this. And even if they did, that red has all 6 of their monsters. This is over for Jagomu.
Yeah, I hate calling it like this, but with the third combo setter out, it's just so frustrating to try to find a way out for Jagomu at this point, when it's just been a steady crush from the combination of these 2 supports and the Drakazul working in concert. As you say, the passives from Ice Blob and to an extent King Blob, in terms of keeping everybody alive there, really doing a ton there. As the Ice Breath brings down another hammer, it is just Steam Golem left here, folks, with 131 charge stacks and no shield to burst.
Yeah, Jagomu weighing his options, but yeah, definitely over. Red put together an incredible chill team for this draft tournament.
Yeah, definitely no, it was mind-blowing right there. As it's once again, having played against Jagomu earlier, both in scrims and elsewise, and seeing a lot of charge all the way through the earlier sort of Swiss stages of this draft tournament. It's really interesting seeing how some of our higher placing competitors can turn that matchup on their head with, as you say, things like heavy debuff oriented teams, which we have seen dominate a lot of the top cut. I don't think I've ever seen a team that focused on chill, though.
Yeah, and I think this is really showcasing both how good it is when your team just matches up well against another, and also just how good the new Hexing Rod buffs were. Red's team is just able to apply so many debuffs, and that just countered the charge stack team very well. Like in this tournament, I ended up bringing a team that had both Ornithopter and Azrach, so I had a lot of debuff, or had a lot of buff stealing. And that it was honestly pretty terrible against a lot of these debuff-oriented teams, because I was just relying on taking away my opponent's buffs and using them myself, and so the debuff teams would get through me. But as soon as I went against a more traditional build-up buffs and attacks team, it was just an easy one-sided sweep. In this case, we're seeing the power of a charge stack team against, or the power of chill against these sort of shield burst teams, because so many of their monsters are weak to chill, and stripping their mana is really devastating for them.
Yeah. Actually, that's another point, is that especially against shield burst oriented teams, where the goal is to hit that critical mass of sort of defensive status, that constant damage over time, especially with things like Congeal, when you're already sapping their mana for what turns into a really powerful dot, can be really detrimental when the shield burst player is going to want to try to hit that zenith point where you've got that good lineup of charge and max shield to hit either that volatile shield hard or that shield burst, depending on the monster.
Yeah, and a lot of those monsters definitely just build for just enough mana like example would be like Oculus. In the last match I saw of Red against Flowing Juffalo, the let's see, they had an Oculus and a Polteroffen, and Oculus only had just enough mana, and so once the Congeal started hitting it, or once it started getting chill applied to it, it could no longer heal and shield as much, and so the combined factors of damage over time plus less shielding just slowly brought down their team. And then Polteroffen very much wants to be regenerating lots of mana for both charge shielding, or for the mana charging, so that it gets charge stacks for how much mana it regenerates, and also so its transfusion is healing it for healing shield. So the fact that its regen was reduced or its mana regen was reduced, really brought down how much shielding it was getting, how many charge stacks it was getting, so it also just struggled to build up towards enough to get a kill.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just a really hard thing to play against unless you are specifically preparing for that when you're team building. Obviously, one of the advantages of this is that you can team build on the fly, but that does require you to put the time in or have that knowledge pre-existing. Well, with that, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here, and thank you, Pope Pius, for such a fun cast.
Yeah, and thank you for the same thing as well, Quarter. Thank you all for watching.
And stop. Just gonna get Craig out.